False. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Why is Glenn Youngkin suddenly talking about critical race theory?
Why do you think it is the issue to put your state back in Republican hands?
After all, it's not taught in Virginia schools. Not one. We'll tell you why. But first, let's turn the clock back a few years to Lee Atwater, a Republican operative who used race to win elections.
You start out in 1954 by saying nothing. By 1968, you can't say nothing. That hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like force busing, states' rights, and all that stuff.
Like Atwater, Glenn is using coded language.
Yes.
Because in 2021, he can't get away with saying what he really wants to say. So if you see Glenn Youngkin talking about critical race theory,
Critical race theory, critical race theory.
make sure to let him know he's not fooling anyone.
Any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
The Lincoln Project paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Yes, they are. They're responsible for that advertising there. Hi, everybody. Sorry about yesterday. Bad belly. Very bad. Very bad. I don't know what. Me and Brett were discussing it. It might have been like bad hamburger meat or something like this because it was homemade. It was homemade. But sorry, knocked me out. Knocked me for a loop. Pepto to the rescue. Imodium, the whole. Yeah, you don't. TMI, right? Okay, well, we're here now. And it's election day. And it's election day all across America. Don't forget that if you live in a place with a school board, if you live in a place with a mayor, if you live in a place with a contested gubernatorial election, it is time for you to vote. Today is a great day. It is election day. It is my favorite day. It is the day that the people who vote have as much power as the lobbyists. It is the day in the United States of America where the people who vote have as much power as the big pharmaceutical companies, as the industrial magnates, as the billionaires, and all the rest. So today is a really important day for you. I have to tell you, there are mayor races that we need to watch. Minneapolis, in Minnesota, they're voting on whether to get rid of their police department, like the whole police department, and replace it with a department that actually serves and protects the community. I don't know what they expect will happen if that prevails, but it's worth watching to see what the next steps might look like if abolishing the current Minneapolis police department, if that actually succeeds at the ballot box. Well, it'd be interesting to see what comes next. Boston, you got two women of color that are running for mayor. Buffalo, you've got this is a weird one in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, everybody, Buffalo. Oh! That's Rochester. But okay, Buffalo. You have this woman named India Walton who won the Democratic primary, which should mean that she's the mayor because there's no Republican challenger. But oh no, the man that she beat is the incumbent. He is the current mayor of Buffalo. His name is Byron Brown. And Byron, even though he lost, would not concede. And so he's a write-in candidate, and so she has to be voted for today if you live in Buffalo. Atlanta, you're choosing yourself a new mayor. You got school boards, races in Ohio, in Des Moines, in Philadelphia, and, of course, the two big gubernatorial races, the two big goobers, both Democrats. Phil Murphy, who is the incumbent in New Jersey, against a guy whose name I can't pronounce because I never even heard of him or watched anything to do with him. I don't think he had a campaign. I think he showed up a time or two and said, I'm running. I don't know. It's like Sia Torelli or something. And then in Virginia, you've got Terry Mcauliffe. And by the way, everybody knows Terry Mcauliffe was governor of Virginia once. From 2014 to 18. So why wasn't he reelected? Why did Virginia not give him a second term? What was the issue? The issue is the state law. Virginia has the only state law like this not only you're not term limited. You can run, but you can't run consecutively. You can't have 2 terms, one after the other. This is a weird stab at term limits. It is. It's a weird one. So he could not run for another term after his first term ended. He had to sit it out and wait. And so now he's running for his second term. And, Virginia likes him. He produced 200,000 jobs for Virginia. He invested $1 billion in Virginia schools. They did a lot to make voting easier in Virginia. They got a background check on all gun sales in Virginia. Virginia's made really exceptional progress between McAuliffe's time as governor and Northam's time as governor. Now, Northam, he has a very good benefit in the last 2 years. He also has the state legislature. He has the state house and he has the state senate. And so they've been able to make really good progress in Virginia for Virginians. That used to be a good thing. But you've got this guy who is you couldn't even have this discussion on the campaign trail. And why, I have no idea. But the discussion I wanted to see in these races, especially the statewide, races, was the progress that Democrats had made, the Phil Murphy progress that Phil Murphy had made in New Jersey for New Jerseyans, the progress that Democrats had made for everybody in Virginia. Couldn't have that race, couldn't have that discussion. And the discussion that was never had was, who is this Youngkin dude? What did he do for a living? How did he get so freaking rich? What is the deal with him? Why is he plucked out of obscurity and suddenly a candidate for the Republican Party to govern, to be the executive in the great Commonwealth of Virginia? Well, it's simple. It's simple. He was the CEO of the Carlyle Group, and then the last couple years that he was the CEO of the Carlyle Group, he was co-CEO at the Carlyle Group with a guy who has pledged loyalty to China. I swear to God. He gives interviews, the co-CEO, that the Carlyle Group remains committed to China. Seriously, dude. And Glenn Youngkin handed off to his co-CEO, who he trained to be co-CEO. Now, I can almost guarantee you that if he loses, he'll go back to being CEO of Carlyle Group. But he left Carlyle Group to run for the executive office in Virginia. Now, what does Carlyle Group do? In a nutshell, they buy American companies. They take those American companies to low-wage countries like the Philippines, like China. Yeah, they offshore all Americans' jobs. They take them to low-wage countries, and then they turn around and they sell those companies for about 3 times what they paid for them, enriching their shareholders and destroying American communities. That is what this guy does. And that conversation was not had on the campaign trail at all. And you know why? Know why? Because Terry McAuliffe invests in the Carlyle Group. Duh. And so they never even had that conversation. Now, investing in the Carlyle Group, as disgusting as that might sound to you, is not as bad as being the CEO who done it and will continue to do it, alongside a co-CEO who was trained to take over so you could run for governor of Virginia, where all the defense contracts are. I mean, this is really twisted. This is like such a sick thing. This is a really messed up thing, this one. But I got to tell you, listening to Glenn Youngkin, the Carlyle Group CEO, the guy who offshores American jobs and destroys American communities, opine about the young ones, about the critical race theory, that's code, baby. And everybody of good conscience knows what that is code for. Beware, white people, beware. You're not going to recognize America, and they will not replace... What? Yeah. And he literally had the audacity, this CRT, that it's not taught anywhere in American schools. It isn't, okay? That said, he said, oh, well, we have to beat it back and we have to get it out of our school, and blah, blah, blah. And then has the audacity to quote Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, Glenn Youngkin quoted MLK.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We're trying so hard to live up to those immortal words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who implored us to be better than we are, to judge one another based on the content of our character and not the color of our skin.
What?
And so let me be clear. Let me be clear. On day one, we will not have political agendas in the classroom, and I will ban critical race theory.
Okay, so set aside the fact that critical race theory, which is a graduate course that is given in law school that you can elect to take, is not taught anywhere in any K through 12 school in the state of Virginia or any other state. Okay, let's just set that aside. You know what else Martin Luther King Jr. said that I don't think Glenn Youngkin would agree with? But since he brings up Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was killed in this country and called a communist and wiretapped in a program called COINTELPRO because white people in this country were so freaked out about black equality being a reality that schools might get desegregated, that black people might have a way to vote in this country, and that they might be considered equal to white people. Let me tell you what else Dr. Martin Luther King said. These are some of my favorite quotes that no one seems to ever know when they take to quoting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This one. This, he said about racism. He said, and what is it America has failed to hear? It's failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than they are about humanity and justice. See, this goes right to the point of you can't tell children anything about American history that might make them feel that they somehow don't come from a perfect country with a perfect record on human condition and justice. Can't tell that to the children. Okay, then he also said, and this one's really powerful. He said, whites, yes, it must be frankly said, are not putting in a similar mass effort to re-educate themselves out of their racial ignorance. It's an aspect of their sense of superiority that the white people of America believe that they have so little to learn. The reality of substantial investment to assist Negroes into the 20th century, adjusting to Negro neighbors, and genuine school integration is still a nightmare for all too many white Americans. Yeah, he also said that. He also said, shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will, which is the case we have here with critical race theory. We have misunderstanding from people of ill will. And you know what? Dr. King didn't find that as offensive as people of goodwill who just have a shallow understanding of the issue at hand, which is critical race theory isn't taught anywhere to any K through 12 school kids. He also said the Western arrogance of feeling that it has everything to teach others and nothing to learn from them is not just. He also said, we can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. He also said this, and this is the most powerful quote that Dr. Martin Luther King ever said. He said, however difficult it is to hear, however shocking it is to hear, we have to face the fact that America is a racist country. And then going back to the shallow understanding of the people of goodwill, he said, nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. You know, he said there aren't enough white persons in our country who are willing to cherish democratic principles over their privilege. So why is he standing on a stage quoting Dr. Martin Luther King and then saying we will never teach American history in school as long as I'm the governor of Virginia? I mean, really, what is that? What is that? Is that conscientious stupidity, or is that shallow understanding, or is it ill will? You have to answer that question for yourself, and Virginians will answer that question for themselves today. Suburban housewives will have to answer that question today. African-American women, who we always look to bail us out of these ridiculous conversations that we fail to have all the time, we're asking again. We're asking again. You cannot let this dude become the governor of Virginia. You just can't. It will deter all kinds of progress. But I have to tell you to get ready for this also, okay? This is obviously going to be a close race. There is no question all the polling is within the margin of error. Yes, Virginia has modernized the way that you vote in Virginia. There are mail-in ballots that, they kept permanently after the COVID experience, and so it applies for this particular election. And Virginia is not used to having this as a way to vote. However, a lot of Virginians seem to have liked it, and there are tons and tons of ballots that are still, yet to be returned. Any ballot that is postmarked today, because it's election day, in Virginia can be received as late as Friday and be counted. That is an important thing to know. If it's postmarked today, like you put it in the mail and it went to the post office today and they postmarked it today, and they don't get it in your precinct, they don't get it, the Secretary of State or whoever, your voter, whoever is your supervisor of elections who counts your votes for your precinct, for your district, for your, right, they can count it up until Friday as long as it's postmarked today. So if this election is really close, like within the margin of, contestation or, less than half a percentage point between the two, they will not have a winner tonight. You understand that? You will not have a winner until Friday. This is an opportunity for the Republicans who are already claiming Virginia has rigged this election. They've already put that out there. They've already said it on various talk shows in local Virginia. Steve Bannon has said it on his talk show. There's lots and lots and lots of people have already, you got a country singer named John Rich who was campaigning for Glenn Youngkin, who told the crowd that Stacey Abrams was in Virginia to rig the election. I'm not kidding. He said, why the hell is Stacey Abrams in Virginia right now? What is that? What is she doing up here? We know what she's doing up here. She's working on it. Do you really think California voted for Gavin Newsom again? I don't think so. Stacey Abrams is probably out there too. She's been campaigning in Virginia for Mcauliffe, and she's rigging the election. Okay, so what is John Rich, the country singer, doing in Virginia? Campaigning.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Mcauliffe, in particular, embraces critical race theory, which is this radical racist theory that was born from a Marxist in law school at Harvard University. You would think that he would denounce it, that the entire Democrat Party would denounce it, but he pretends it's not happening, and then he accuses you of using it to divide people.
Yeah, I have not understood why he has been so dismissive of what we know is happening in our schools. And in fact, I found the first instances of it being introduced into our school system during his administration, where they started to use training material to introduce critical race theory into the classroom. And of course, what we know is it teaches children to see everything through a lens of race and then to divide them into buckets and have children that are called privileged and others that are victims. And it's just wrong. And in fact, forces our kids to compete against one another and steals their dreams.
Oh, we're dream stealers. He's the dream weaver. We're the dream stealer. This is really sick and sad. So critical race theory, as you know, is a law school course in the justice, the the way we apply justice in this country and its effect on minorities. That's all it is. That's what critical race theory is. The rest would be American history. And if teaching American history is so offensive to white people, then white people need to answer the question, why would that be? Really? Why is it so horrendously offensive for you to know that your kids might go to school and learn about colonization, learn about genocide, learn about smallpox-infested blankies, learn about the Civil War, learn about states' rights and what a bogus claim that was, learn about how many people died in the Civil War to perpetuate slavery, which is the practice of a man owning a man. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, why is that so disturbing to people in this country teaching the American history? I'm not really sure. But as far as critical race theory goes, that is just a look-see at the justice system in the United States in law school to see if it has, to see why it is that 13% of the population might be African American, but they represent like more than half of the people who are in jail for nonviolent drug crimes. Why would that be? What could have happened in our laws? What could have happened in the execution of our laws? What could have happened that would cause such a situation? When we know now that the instances of drug use among blacks and whites in this country is about equal. Just asking. So anyway, this is what they're running on, and these are coded words. This is instead of saying states' rights. This is instead of saying slavery. This is instead of saying, the South's going to do it again. This is instead of saying the N-word, right? This is the way that they drill fear into the lily-livered, snowflakey, old, cranky white men who are terrified, I tell you, that they are somehow going to be replaced in this country as the majority rule. Now, I am sorry for the cranky old white men that your penises didn't work properly and you are being, outnumbered. But that is no reason for anyone to hate anyone else. And this is a bogus argument. It truly is. So, I mean, as far as who wins in Virginia tonight, I don't know. We'll see. If Youngkin doesn't win in Virginia tonight, prepare yourself for a contested election. Prepare yourself for fraud, and it was stolen, and the whole rigmarole all over again. And the thing that you have to remember when you consider that Virginia is going to be contested, if their preferred candidate loses, and by them I mean the conservabots, by them I mean the cult members, by them I mean the Trump base, the Qaeda, right? If they lose, they're going to contest this election. And now we have this poll that shows that 1/3 of Republicans, okay, so like I said, about 1/3 of America identifies as Republicans. And 1/3 of those Republicans says that they may use violence if they feel like the laws aren't being upheld in this country. They think that they will be compelled to use violence. And when you combine these two things that could happen tonight, meaning the election is too close to call, and an agitated cult-like base that still believes that Donald Trump was somehow, robbed, even though he lost by 6 million votes nationwide. Donald Trump did. He lost. Wasn't even close. Lost by 6 million votes. There is a very good chance that in Virginia you will see people push back against a result that favors the Democrat. And by pushback, I mean physically push. Physically. So that's kind of, tonight might be or today might be the last day that we get to talk about anything except the violence in Virginia, the violence on January 6th. It's one of those deals. And, because the media only covered this one election, they didn't cover any other election. They didn't cover Phil Murphy's election in New Jersey. By the way, Doug, I believe it's Doug in Denver, just sent me an email because he wanted to show me who the challenger to Phil Murphy, the Republican in New Jersey, is. And it's really hysterical. There's a commercial. The New Jersey challenger, the Republican challenger in New Jersey, you know what he's running on? He's running on filthy language. He's running on the fact that in freaking New Jersey. Well, I'm just going to play you the ad, okay? For against this guy. I'll show you.
Do you know who this guy is?
No clue.
Right.
No. That's Jack Ciattarelli, the GOP candidate for governor. He once led an effort to ban swearing.
You're shitting me.
You did what?
No f***ing way. Wonderful. What the f***? Aw, that's kind of nice.
Really?
No. This is fucking New Jersey.
We can't let that win.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for that. So that's who the Republican challenger is. And the people of New Jersey have no idea who he is either, so I don't feel so bad. But apparently he's running on an anti-swearing platform in freaking New Jersey. This is some desperate crap. This is some really, really seriously desperate crap. When you have nothing, you have no policy. And, don't let that be lost on you, okay? The reason why the Carlyle Group defense industry contractor, a guy who offshores American jobs to low-wage nations, sells the company for 3 times what he paid for it, and then, profits from the destruction of American communities, who does this for a living and has done it for 20 years. This is what he does. Has no policies that would benefit anybody in Virginia. And that is why he is running on code-worded, race-based ideas to trigger people, Republican people.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
What's the most important issue in the governor's race here in Virginia?
Getting back to the basics of teaching children, not teaching them critical race theory.
And what is critical race theory?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much, but it's something that I don't, what little bit that I know I don't care for.
And what have you heard that you don't,
well,
that you don't like?
I'm not going to, I don't have that much knowledge on it, but It's something that that I don't care for.
So translation, the misunderstanding from people of ill will, conscientious stupidity. That is what that is right there. You want to quote Martin Luther King Jr., then you better actually pay attention to these people here who are showing you that MLK was like Jesus. I mean, he freaking knew. He totally knew. He understood exactly what triggers white Americans. And they may talk this great game about justice and freedom for all and democracy and everything else, as long as it doesn't make them uncomfortable. And if it does make them uncomfortable, then to hell with freedom and justice and democracy for all. Forget it. Forget it. Nothing disturbs my privilege. Nothing. It's all I have left. By the way, critical race theory is not, did I mention that? Yeah, taught in any school. Yeah, it isn't. But American history is. And I wonder if we're going to have schools that are allowed to teach Martin Luther King Jr.'s quotes on racism anywhere in this country if these people prevail in their desire to keep the white privileged few comfortable instead of intelligent enough not to repeat history, instead of aware enough of our history so that we don't repeat our history. Because if not, we got 100 years coming that you won't like. You won't like it. Your kids won't like it. Your grandkids won't like it. Because I imagine that it sucked when we had it. I imagine that living during the Civil War sucked. I just don't think that was fun. I don't think that was a good time that was had by anybody. I just don't. Linwood in Virginia. Oh, did you vote?
Hold on 1 second.
Did you vote?
Hey, good afternoon. How
Hi.
you doing?
Did you vote?
Yes, I did. I actually voted early. But I want to bring this to your attention because I don't think anybody is talking about it. We're talking about suburbs and, can they get the suburbs? As far as I care, the hell with the suburbs. Let them burn down to the crisp. They're the reason why we have this problem in the first place with the cities being underfunded, underpaid, and everything else in between. What this really comes to is if non-whites show up. Non-whites have been getting basically the runaround with the Democratic establishment. The white Democratic Party is basically trying to make whitey feel comfortable at the expense of trying to...
So who did you vote for?
I voted for Mcauliffe, even though I'm going to tell you right now, I wasn't too thrilled about voting for him because he undermined black female... No problem. Black female political power in the state, and Doug Wilder actually called him out as a hypocrite because when the whole blackface thing broke out, Terry McAuliffe basically backpedaled.
Well,
he did play the role of the white.
Didn't Northam turn out to be a decent governor for you?
I mean, yeah, but bottom line is this: Doug Wilder is the man in this state.
So why would
and whatever Doug Wilder says goes?
No, that's not true. Doug Wilder has no friends in the Democratic Party, and you know it. I don't know why
you're
saying
this. Of course.
And I don't know why on Election Day you would want to go on a national show or even a show that's heard in Virginia and tell the suburban housewife that you want to burn down her suburb. I mean, what good does that do you?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm so sick and damn tired of hearing about the suburbs. The hell with the suburbs. It's about non-white voters.
Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Charlottesville.
In the city?
In the city.
So
I'm in the city.
So you remember what happened in your city, right?
I know it. It's a lot of things.
Now, was that Lily? Was that the suburbs? Those white people.
That's Albemarle County.
Okay.
That's Albemarle County. Nothing to do with that.
So those white people who came into Charlottesville, did they look anything like the white ladies you see that you hate so much in the suburbs?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, tell me something.
Let me tell you something, Randy. It's a lot of things here in Charlottesville you don't know about. It's a lot of the beef that's been going on between the non-white political establishment here.
I'm talking about the
Democratic Party establishment here.
I'm talking about the forces of evil and hatred that came into Charlottesville that beat.
Those are unrefined white supremacists.
That beat DeAndre Harris in the parking
lot. I was there when they did that. I was there.
Okay, so it ran over Heather Heyer, right? Those people. Do you think that those people are cut from the same cloth as a woman who lives in the suburbs of, Northern Virginia?
Let me keep it real with you.
Answer my question. You want to keep it real, then you answer the question. Are those the same people?
They're not the same people. They're just more refined in how they practice white supremacy.
Why are you not threatening people like that with burning down their particular area and instead focusing on people who are sending their kids to school in suburban neighborhoods who need to vote today to keep those people out of Charlottesville?
Let me keep it real. They have failed.
You keep
they have failed to solve.
That, but you won't
I'm just telling you
question.
Randy, I'm telling you what's going on here, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people don't want to bring it up. But the reason why Terry McAuliffe may lose today is because of black and brown voters. It's because the Democratic Party here has basically taken us for granted. And you're going to get a lesson plan today because black people, brown people, red people, yellow people, we run this damn country. We make sure y'all eat, and y'all will never eat if you don't do what we want.
Let me ask you this: How did Terry McAuliffe win the primary with 50% of the vote?
Oh, man, that primary was the lowest turnout ever with non-white candidates on the ballot.
So who didn't turn out? I mean, you're making this big argument that you run this thing, and yet he won.
No. I don't run anything. But non-whites determined.
I'm so tired of your militancy, really. I can't take it on either side.
That is a weird mix of like.
He's always been this way. I've been talking.
But he
listen,
just
so you know, Linwood in Virginia has been calling me for 20 years. He missed his opportunity to live in the violent uprisings of the 60s, and he wants his piece of action. He really does obsess about violent tactics as a way. And you know I have no patience for violent tactics as a way. The truth is, Terry Mcauliffe won the Democratic primary with 50% of the vote. And that there was the big, huge mistake of low turnout in the Democratic Party, okay? And that is why you have Terry Mcauliffe as the Democratic nominee for governor against a corporate lackey who is a globalist, on the other hand, who has no compunction, absolutely no desire to keep American jobs in America, running as a Trump acolyte who has, Trump's thing is America first. And yet every time you look at somebody that Trump endorsed, that is a globalist. That is a guy who operates all over the world, offshoring American jobs one after the other to low-wage countries, making a fortune, enriching himself, and doing it again. So, listen, Linwood, I get that you're a militant dude. I understand how you are, but don't take it out on me. I'm just telling you what's real, and what you want to keep it real. No one showed up during the primary, and you ended up with Terry Mcauliffe as the nominee. And today is the general election. And you voted for him. You voted for him.
He calls a lot, and he
calls every day.
That's not always it's not nonsense. He's very informed, but he is angry.
No,
and
he
militant.
isn't. You don't understand.
Well, this time he got through me. His original point was CRT is a power grab for Virginian Republicans, and I'm like, okay, we'll talk to Randy about it. And then he hits us with burn down the suburbs. Good Lord.
So I don't know why you're surprised, because he's been calling us every day for every day that you've been here. Every day that you've been here. He's been calling me for 20 years every day that I've been here. He always does that. He likes to sandbag you so that he can talk big about how he wants to go all violent against Whitey. It's his dream. It's what he's about. It's who he is. He's no better or worse than a MAGA guy who would do it for that side.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Trump is not liked here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. People remember Charlottesville when he failed us that day, horrible day, when he said there were fine people on both sides. And that was a tragic day. We lost Heather Heyer. I lost K-State troopers, including my pilot and a member of my security detail. Mm-hmm. And Donald Trump said there were good people on both sides. But people want to be lifted up. Trump, his hate and division, he wants to run again in 2024. I think he wants to use this. Dan is a launch pad for that. That's pretty clear. That's why he's endorsed Youngkin 7 or 8 times. 7 or 8 times.
So that's your candidate, Virginia. That's what you got for a Democrat. And on the Republican side of things, you have a globalist CEO of the Carlyle Group. The Carlyle Group, who is using code words to freak out white suburban women by telling them that critical race theory, which is going to make your little white child feel so bad about themselves, is being taught to them in 3rd grade, in 4th grade, in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And it isn't. It isn't being taught in any public school, period. End of story. And the reason why they're doing this is to trigger a giant fight, a giant fight. And you see it playing out at school boards, and you see it playing out in Congress, and you see it, turning into violence on. And when you listen to some people, they would do it on our side too. And that's sad. That's pathetic. Because, listen, I got to tell you, Linwood's got to be as old as I am. The idea that he's the muscle, it's just a little creepy. Marcus in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, Randy.
Hey.
Yeah, I called you once before, and I was talking about, is there anybody whose ear that you have, because you're always so spot on with what the Democrats really ought to be doing, and there's several others. I give props to the Lincoln Project because that's what the Democratic Party should be, or the Leadership Council or National Campaign Committee, whoever these people are. This is how they should be fighting.
You're right.
The Democrats' problem is that they've never had the message, or how to get the message to the people, the message that they should be having. For instance, for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about, or everybody on the media has been talking about, how has this become such a close race? Well, the reason it's become such a close race is because of the way the Republicans have been able to insert CRT. And the media has not told the people about the truth that you explained the day before yesterday about that bathroom incident.
Right.
Why is that not being exposed on the media? Why is the media not telling that story?
For the life of me, I have no earthly idea. I really don't.
Okay.
I honestly don't. I could tell you that corporate media is a whole different animal than anything that I ever related to or thought was, entertaining or a good way to broadcast or information that people needed to have. And so from the very beginning of my corporate career, let's say, I was an outcast. And we all know that. I mean, I got a call the other day from a guy who remembered my first day on national radio, right? And he said he remembered that I had, ripped, what's his face, the consumer advocate apart for running as a Green Party candidate, Ralph Nader. Yeah, Ralph Nader,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I said, yeah, and that made me the outsider. I was never welcome in the limousine liberal, clique ever again. I understood that I better make this particular place where I was sitting in work because I was never going to get on MSNBC. I was never going to get on CNN. I was never going to get on Fox News. I was never going to get anywhere in corporate media because I wanted to tell people the stuff nobody was telling them.
Well, the ultimate responsibility for getting this out there lies with the Democratic candidate himself, Terry McAuliffe.
Well, I just want to let you know that the party itself doesn't really concern itself with telling people what they need to hear.
Correct.
Right, and it's really creepy, and that's why I said these are limousine liberals. These are people that control an enormous amount of media, not nearly as much as the conservatives do, and they don't think that we should spend time talking about the things that are ugly and dirty that are going on. They don't want to talk about torture. They I can't tell you how many times they told me to shut up about torture and black site prisons and Ralph Nader and don't I understand that this person and that person, that they give a lot of money or they do this or they do that. They wanted me to have interviews. They wanted me to do sit downs with Michael Bloomberg, and I refused. Okay, this is what you're up against. Now, do they come and tell you what to talk about? No, but they do tell you you're getting on our last nerve. They do tell you you're walking on a thin line here. They do tell you that if you get in trouble and you get sued, you're on your own. Right? That's what they tell you. That's how that works.
Well, I think that the party needs a Lee Atwater, except someone guided with a moral compass. And, there's yourself, there are the Lincoln Project people, and there's a ton of people out there who know. I mean, I even hear Michael Steele telling, what the Democrats ought to be talking about, what they ought to be doing, how they should be fighting. Now, I would just simply, if I had three wishes, I would.
Let me tell you the last time I spoke to somebody or tried to speak to somebody. I didn't make the connection, okay? Because you asked me whose ear do I have and who could I talk to? I remember that question. And I said, you know, they're as available to me as they are to you. And that's the truth. But I did try during 2015 and 16. I did try to get a message out to Hillary Clinton's campaign, okay? Because I know she hates me. She hates me for one joke that I told on a Saturday night in a gay bar in San Francisco, okay? I was trying my hand at stand-up comedy, and I failed miserably. I'm not good at it. And that got recorded, and it went viral, okay? And so ever since that moment, I have no ability to talk to her. So I went through people that do have an ability to talk to her. Now, you can just imagine who might be running in Virginia today that could get to her, and who I might know that knows him, okay? And that I might use that particular lane to get the message to Hillary's campaign. So what was the message? It was, they're coming on Facebook. You have no idea what this digital media thing is going to do to you and your hopes and your dreams and your campaign. And I know you don't want to hear it from me, but I'm telling you right now, Facebook has invited the campaigns into Facebook to show them how to use it. And your campaign said you don't need to do it. Okay? And that is a huge mistake. And nobody listened to me. Nobody did.
Yeah.
Why? Because I told a stupid joke on a Saturday night in San Francisco, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Right. Well, that is my number one issue that I have with that party, with the party right now, is that they don't seem to want to hear.
Right.
I mean, Lee Atwater was a nobody, and somehow or another, this little weasel wormed his way up to the highest echelons, the ears of the Republican Party.
Yeah, but he
died. And he said, "Listen,
he died of
do this.
He died of
this
really
is what you've got to do."
Death of brain cancer.
You know.
Yeah, but it's not just Lee Atwater. After Lee Atwater, there was Karl Rove, and after Karl Rove, there's Steve Bannon, okay? And now they have it on these platforms, and I was trying to tell her about Cambridge Analytica. I was trying to tell her about the Mercers. I was trying to tell her about the psychological profiling that was going on, and that the campaign needed to pay attention to this and to get involved and to go to YouTube and learn how to use YouTube and learn how to use Facebook and get on Instagram and start. They didn't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it from anybody, especially not me. Especially not me. So,
Randy, I'll leave you with this. If I had any power in this here at all, I would simply tell every single Democrat running, run against the Republican record.
Right.
Their record.
How many times have you're right, and I've said that. Why aren't we seeing the debate between the two with what was done? Progress that was made versus Carlisle Group.
It's Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
There was no insurrection, and to call it an insurrection, in my opinion, is a bold-faced lie.
Outright propaganda and lies are being used to unleash the national security state against law-abiding U.S. citizens, especially Trump voters. As a result, the DOJ is harassing peaceful patriots across the country.
It was Trump supporters who lost their lives that day, not Trump supporters who were taking the lives of others.
When I see this sheet on our timeline, and on the, let's see, at 2:07, a mob of Trump supporters breached the steps. I don't know who did a poll that is Trump supporters.
There have been things worse than people without any firearms coming into a building.
This is what we're up against, people, okay? This is how far backwards we have gone, where not only can you tell a huge, unbelievably big lie about an election that was free and fair in this country and radicalize people to violence at the Capitol of the United States, but you can get so many Republican members of Congress to agree that there's nothing to see here. They were tourists. There's a lot worse that could happen. They weren't armed. This wasn't an insurrection. Why do you say they were Trump supporters? I mean, this is what we're up against. This is how far back they take us every single time they're in power. And then Democrats are always asked to clean it up, always asked. And so we're always starting at a deficit. Obama had to start in the bowels of hell. We were in a depression to the point where in 2008, I kept saying, why would he want to be president? Why would anybody want to be president? Why would the first African American want to be president of these here United States of America? Why would he want to do it now? Who would want to after this economy was purposefully crashed and people lost their houses on purpose, just as a tip of the hat to big banks? Now you got this race in Virginia where again you got a guy who is a globalist. You got a guy who for a living offshores American jobs. You have a guy who's going to do it all over again. And we're sitting here looking at an economy in tatters because we had a Republican president who said there's only 15 people with COVID, it will go away. When we only had 15 people. And this economy and everything that we're suffering and the supply chain and the whole 9 yards. I mean, the women of this country were exhausted, okay? I can't even tell you how exhausted we are. School's been closed. we're working, remotely if we're working at all. People who had front-facing jobs like, the service, employees of America, the waitresses, the hairdressers, the nail techs, all the women. I mean, everyone's exhausted. We're exhausted from them. And then they run, and they have no policy. What are you going to do for us? What is your plan on COVID? What is your plan for the economy? What is your plan for this? What is your plan for that? CRT. School board, CRT. Why do people keep falling for this? I get that you feel like enough progress is never made, and it's because every time we take 2 steps forward, everyone says it's not happening fast enough, it's not good enough, the messaging sucks, which it does, I'll give you that. But then you vote for somebody who's going to take us back to the dark ages, and then you're going to say, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Fix it. We'll find, another Democrat will come in and fix it. We'll fix it. I mean, we're on the precipice of losing our constitutional rights. Okay, voting rights. I think everybody is very aware. And so if you have a party in at least a state where the governorship is open, right, and you can vote today, choose the one that's for voting. Choose the one that believes that the constitutional right to vote has been fought for and won. Choose that, because that's how low we have to go. That's how basic constitutional rights are being usurped by this Republican Party. I mean, they want to take us so far backwards. Abortion is actually being talked about in the Supreme Court yesterday. Voting rights are hanging by a thread in this country. That's how far back they want to take us. That's how far back. This is how exhausted we are from trying to come away from this violence, to come away from these lies, to come away from COVID, to come away from this bad setup that we have here. We're trying. But when you don't show up for primaries and you don't care about voting on election day, when you do have a party that's for voting and a party that's against voting, going head to head, I don't know what to tell you. Yes, I get that the messaging sucks. Yes, I did try to explain to the Democratic Party that the way that they were going into this election in 2016 was doomed. They were getting creamed on social media. They don't even go on social media. They didn't even know about social media, okay? I mean, the idea that emails were hacked by Russians, who talked about it? It was like in one debate, there was an aside, I'm not you're the puppet. No, you're the puppet. No, you're the puppet. And nobody really knew what anybody was getting at, because they don't tell you the real hard stuff that you need to know. Like that story about the girl at Stonebridge High, in Virginia. That girl at Stonebridge High was not raped in a bathroom that she didn't with a stranger. It was a guy she was dating. They had done it in the bathroom before, twice before, always in the girls' bathroom. And they were meeting there by arrangement again. She just didn't feel like it that day. She didn't feel well. And she told him no, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And that there is rape. And so he went to juvenile court. They adjudicated him guilty because she said no. She testified. That's how we know that that's the true story, because she was under oath and told that story. And they have turned it into something to do with gender fluidity or gender identity or taking away someone's masculinity. I don't know. I mean, they twist everything. Everything. And there's a big space for them to do it because they're not serious about media, and they're not serious about social media, and they're not serious about anything to do with messaging. They're not. It's sad, but our policies are better. And so Democrats, for the most part, think that if we just enact policies that are good for American families, if we get people health care, or if we get people subsidies to buy health care, or if we get people, cheaper prescription drugs, or if we get people, pre-K, then it won't matter what is said on social media. Well, the last time they tried it that way, we got health care, and President Obama ended up on a poster carried by Tea Party freaks with a bone through his nose in a witch doctor's costume. And they told us that he was going to send grandma to a death panel, which COVID turned out to be, and had nothing to do with Barack Obama. But you can't let the vacuum happen. I get that. I understand that. But when we don't vote, what are you going to do?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, let's just go to the phone. Celine in Belgium. Belgium, wow.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, wow, this is awesome. All right, I have a question, because it's very hard to call from Europe to where you live. Maybe you can look into Discord. David Pacman does the same thing. It's for free. I don't know. That's just something I thought about. But my question, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, my question is, today I watched this awful documentary about Tucker Carlson did this documentary about January 6th. And basically, I didn't understand anything about it. First, it was on Tifa, then it wasn't. Then it was CNN, then it was anything besides right wingers, and it completely confused me. And then QAnon came in the picture as well, and I was very confused. It's like
how can I? Where do I have to start explaining January 6th? I mean, what do you know about it?
I mean, I saw it unfolding live.
Uh-huh. Do you know why it happened? Do you understand what happened here? That people were lied to incessantly before the election, saying
yes.
Oh, okay.
I was on the internet, and I was on the forums, and I saw like all the right wingers like kind of gathering around, and I thought it was a joke.
What is the issue with January 6th that you have in Europe about us?
Oh, in Europe, I mean that you have like this big Tucker Carlson person that is the biggest person on TV that is telling you it is a lie what happened. That's insane to me. That's propaganda. That's just telling a lie.
Right. We do. We have a lot of propaganda. We do. We have tons of it. It's all over.
But he's the biggest one.
He's the biggest one. He's not the biggest one. We have many of them. We have Sean Hannity, who's a propagandist. We've had Rush Limbaugh on AM radio, sometimes on 3 and 4 radio stations in the same town, in the same exact town, in the same city, so that if you went to change the channel, you would still end up listening to the same show. Okay? They have cornered the market on, bogus media. They really are good at it. The right wing is usually very good at propaganda. Being in Europe, you must have studied propagandists and how they tell.
Yes, of course.
Okay, and how a big lie, a huge lie, is more believable than little lies. So they went with that. And they feel that the big lie is the way to go. Don't tell.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's so scary to me, because he's such a loud voice.
It's not just Tucker Carlson. I mean, he is a large voice, but Sean Hannity does it too. We have a news network here called OAN that does it as well.
OAN, and you have also Newsmax.
Yes, we have.
Right?
We have Newsmax. We have a whole bunch of propaganda supposed news networks. Okay.
Why do you think they get so much gathering? Why do people listen so much to them?
Because hatred sells, because anger sells, because people want to blame.
It's the same thing with Facebook and all the misinformation on Facebook, right?
Right. And people want, they want to be fed a steady diet of outrage. It keeps them hooked in. It keeps them scrolling. It keeps them,
It gives them clicks.
Right. So there's your answer.
Yeah. Well, it's very disconcerting to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I watched this propaganda documentary for a while this morning, and I had to pause so many times because I thought my brain was melting.
Yeah.
Like, is it Antifa or is it actually right-wingers, or what's the point here, actually?
I don't know. I don't know what you watched.
It's just rage.
I have no idea what you watched because I'm here and you're there. But whatever.
Haven't you seen the trailer from Tucker Carlson and his documentary about?
Wait. Celine, are you telling me that you actually paid money to watch that?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Well,
I saw somebody else. No.
Oh, so somebody else paid money and you watched it with them.
Oh, no, paid money. No, it was Fox News, so it was free.
No, it's on Fox Nation. It's not free. It's a pay-per-view situation. So.
Oh, I saw somebody reacting to it.
No, you paid for it, or your friend paid for it, or whoever showed it to you paid for it. That is not on Fox.
No. I just saw somebody reacting to it. So maybe he paid for it.
So you didn't actually watch the video. You didn't.
No, I watched the video. I saw him reacting to it.
No, the propaganda film that you're talking about is pay-per-view. It's not free. You have to subscribe.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I watched it for free. I saw it on YouTube.
No, I don't think you did. No, it's a pay-per-view. You have to have a subscription to this pay channel. And the reason why Fox has put up a pay channel is because they can't get advertisers to advertise on Fox because of the content, because the content is so outrageous, because the content is so full of falsehoods and lies and propaganda. And corporate entities don't want to be associated with it. And that's why on Fox News, they're down to MyPillow advertising and, Medicare Advantage plans and stuff like that. Okay, they're down to nothing because corporate doesn't want to be associated with this brand of lying and propagandizing Americans. And so they set up a pay channel. That pay channel is $5.99 a month. And that is where the propaganda video that he made is airing. All right, Jerry in Baltimore.
Hey, Randy.
Hello.
God, where to begin?
I don't know.
Linwood, crazy.
Linwood has always been fanciful and admiring of militants. He thinks violence is somehow the answer.
He needs to take some meds. Look, real quick, I was born in 59, lived through all of it. Saw my mother celebrate when the Loving decision it came in. Marches, burning cities, oh yeah. Grew up half my life in the ghetto in Hartford, Connecticut. And we had the riots there. In fact, my mother slapped the spit out of my mouth when I threw a brick through the Jewish pharmacy store when she caught me out there in a riot. And then we moved to the suburbs shortly after that.
Yes, that's called white flight. And that's our story, too. And privileged white people like to tell that story without acknowledging that they were privileged to get away from the riots and go to schools that didn't have them. That's what's missing. That's what's missing from the story.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
On January 6th, Lindsey Graham was running around the Capitol ordering the Capitol Police to murder the protesters. Quote, "You've got guns, use them. We give you guns for a reason," shrieked Lindsey Graham. Shoot American citizens for the crime of trespassing. Really? This is the conservative position? Unarmed protesters show up. Look, they shouldn't have been there. We've never defended that and never would. But kill them? What the hell's wrong with you, Lindsey Graham? How long before you're ordering drone attacks on people whose politics you don't like?
So how dangerous is Tucker Carlson? That's what Celine in Belgium wants to know. He's a fascist, Celine. So how dangerous is a fascist with a platform, with a microphone, with distribution around the world? How dangerous is a fascist? He's not the only fascist, as you know, but he is a fascist. There's no question in my mind. And so the Republican Party is starting to eat each other. Why? Because Lindsey Graham is he was freaked out and he was afraid for his life. He knew that the President of the United States of America had been called. He knew that the President of the United States of America was going to do nothing to call off his supporters who had been lied to repeatedly and for months, if not a year. That if Donald Trump lost the election, it's because it was rigged, it's because it was stolen, it's because they cheated. There is no way Donald Trump could lose in a free and fair election. And this lie was told over and over and over again. And then when Donald Trump failed to get state legislatures to overturn the results of the election, when he failed to get supervisors of elections and secretaries of state to overturn the results of a free and fair election, when he failed in 60 different court cases to get the election overturned, Donald Trump turned to the violent people who follow him. And Tucker Carlson was happy to help, as were other right-wing lunatic fringe voices all over the radio here and all over the television here. All the conservative channels were telling that big propaganda lie. They were all saying it was rigged, it was stolen, to the point where in this country right now, about 30% of Republicans still believe the election had been stolen from them, even though it wasn't even close. And what I'm trying to explain to you, not you, Celine, what I'm trying to explain to Americans and people who are living in places where there are elections today, even if it's something as simple as a school board election today, even if it's something as simple as choosing your mayor today. New York City is going to choose their mayor today. And their choice is between Eric Adams, former police commissioner, and Curtis Sliwa, who made his name for himself back in the 90s, riding on the subway wearing a jacket that called himself the Guardian Angels with a beret. Who he still wears this stupid outfit all these years later. This man is stuck in the olden days. Lives in 850 square feet in Manhattan with like 16 cats. And this is who the Republicans put up against Eric Adams. Same thing in Virginia. Virginia, you got Terry McAuliffe as the Democratic candidate running against a globalist from the Carlyle Group who wants to offshore American jobs to low-wage countries so he can sell them at a profit and enrich himself. And there was no conversation about any of that on the campaign trail in this election cycle. No conversation at all about it. No conversation about Ralph Northam's accomplishments. No conversation about how voting has become so much easier in Virginia because we had a Democrat as governor and because we had a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House in Virginia. No, they keep on doing this to us and putting me in a position to have to defend these candidates because no one voted in a primary. I'm sorry. It's an unenviable position I'm in, but it is all we have. We are back to basics. You understand? We're back to basics. We're back to having to protect the right to vote. We're back to having to protect our right to privacy as women. Something that we've had our entire lives, something we've never lived without, is now suddenly being challenged at the Supreme Court. And I got news for you. Yesterday's argument wasn't even about the constitutionality of what Texas did. No, it wasn't about that Texas violated the Constitution by creating a law that says that 6 weeks is enough time for you to go and get an abortion when the Supreme Court said twice in the last 40 years, once in 1973 and again in 1992 in the Casey case, that you have 23 weeks to decide. 23 weeks to figure out. So they weren't even discussing the violation of the Constitution that Texas wrote down and passed. No, you know what they were talking about yesterday? Whether or not anybody had the right to sue, and if they had the right to sue, who the hell do they sue? Because Texas decided to deputize its people to go after doctors, to go after clinics, to go after people who counsel women about their rights. We're back to basics here. That's all they were discussing is, well, is there a right to sue to keep your constitutional rights in place? Is there a right to sue? And if so, who do you sue? That's what they were hashing out yesterday. And suddenly it dawned on them, well, if that works, if deputizing people to take away other people's constitutional rights works for taking away a woman's constitutionally protected right to privacy, well, then it might work for people to deputize people to take away your constitutionally protected right to vote. And it might actually include people being deputized in states that are anti-gun to, go file a suit if you go get a gun. And that's all that was discussed yesterday. The big constitutional question won't even be argued until December 1st when Mississippi tries to argue the constitutionality of viability, the word viability. I'm telling you, we're back to square one. We're back to basics in this country. That's how far back Republicans take us every time they have power. Don't you get it? That's why we can't make the kind of progress that people are hoping that, they would have lived to see in their lifetime. God knows I want to live in the 21st century. We aren't living in the 21st century. Not only aren't we living in the 21st, we're not living in the 20th. We're living in the 19th. Truly. They're attacking women's rights. They're attacking, and you talk about, the right to, marry whoever. They're going to... Baltimore, what's his name? Jerry brought up the Loving decision, which said that, you can marry whoever you want, whether they're white or black, and you're white or black. It doesn't matter. Well, we're back to that, too, with the gay marriage question. We're back to that, too. That's who they are. It's what they do. They have no policy. So they sell you on this romanticized idea of when no one had rights. How much better things were when everybody had a gun in town. There was one sheriff. Women were, subservient, and they were featured in ads, kneeling at the beds of their husband, presenting them with a tie. Oh, them were the days. And then we have to fight back from that. It's like a touchback. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like that's what it is. It's like you can't even believe how far back they want to dial. Why? Do they care about these things? No. But if we're fighting for basic constitutional rights all the time, if we're fighting for a woman's right to privacy, if we're fighting for the right to vote, if we're fighting for the right to go to the school of your choice, if we're fighting for the right not to be gerrymandered out of existence, well, good. And that's what we're doing. And that's what you're voting for in Virginia today, the right to vote. the right to privacy for women, the right for gay marriage to be recognized. Social Security benefits have just been given to same-sex partners who have been together long enough to get Social Security benefits. That all goes away if they get their way. This is what they do. Now, I understand that, we want to move forward and we want a better messaging and we want a, more modern. They aren't interested. They want to take you so far back that you're just treading water all the time until you get so exhausted. You say, it's just not worth it. I'm not even going to participate. I'm not even going to vote. I'm not even going to show up. I'm not even going to bother. They're all the same. They are not all the same. Democrats could be better. They could run better candidates. We could actually tap into the genius of the youth. We could run people like Katie Porter. We could run people like Stacey Abrams. We could run people that are new and modern and smart and capable of explaining difficult things in easy to understand sound bites. We could do it. But we're always being pushed so far back that we're fighting just to get where we started. And if we win that Supreme Court case that was argued yesterday, all that we will have won is the ability to challenge the law. That's it. That's how far back they took us with this with this vigilanteism. That's how far back, to like the 1890s.
Clear for takeoff. The Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Welcome to Code WACK, your podcast on America's broken healthcare system and how Medicare for All.
Mary had a little man.
The false. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Getting people back to work in October. This is a good number here. 531,000 net new jobs added back into the economy in October. And the jobless rate falls more than expected to 4.6%. Oh! Let's look at the trend here. You can see that August and September were revised higher, John. That means a little bit better hiring than we had feared. Remember, we saw that strong summer. And this is the Delta variant slowing that brisk job creation. Now coming back. Some economists have been telling me they think that Hurricane Ida might have been a depressive factor in jobs creation. Also, kids were just getting back to school. They've been back to school about 6 weeks now. Maybe that allows some people to go out there and look for work. How does it look for the recovery? Still down about 4.2 million jobs in the recovery. This is what we've lived through, John, every month looking at job creation, slowly, steadily digging out of this COVID hole here where millions of people were thrown out of work. The jobless rate, important to look at this one too here, 4.6%. That brings us back to the best since the beginning of the pandemic. It was 4.4% in March 2020, 4.6%. That is a sign of progress there.
Yay, we need that. We need that. Happy Friday, you bastards. Finally, some good news, because if you were Joe Biden, you probably started hating numbers because they've been so bad. It's been but now it looks like we're through the Delta variant, or at least on the way to getting through the Delta variant. Like I was telling you yesterday, 98% of people over the age of 65, 98% are vaccinated. People over 12, it's almost 80% of people over 12 are vaccinated. We're getting there. We're getting there. If we can only figure out what to do about Aaron Rodgers. Oh, what is wrong with Aaron Rodgers? But anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there because I need to give Brett his Christmas gift early.
I just want to say this. My anger was starting to subside, and then I saw that little clip of MLK in our opening, and I got all angry again. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay. So just so you know, wages are up, too, in this here country. They're up almost 5%. So this is good. The worker shortage, people being afraid to go get work because of the COVID, people insisting on better wages to go back to work in the midst of COVID. actually worked to the benefit of us, those who work for wages, because we were able to negotiate higher salaries and businesses were able to, pony up. They said, oh, my God, we can't find people to work for $7.25 an hour. I guess we're going to have to pay you $12. I guess we're going to have to. And they said, okay, then we'll go back to work. So this is really good news for, Terry Mcauliffe, I guess, because, he's going to have to look for a job, right? And also good news for Stephen Sweeney. Stephen Sweeney, everybody. Who? I know. Pulling a name out of my butt. Stephen Sweeney. This is one of the most fantastical stories in the history of politics. It's unbelievable to me. Stephen Sweeney is was the New Jersey Senate president. The New Jersey legislature was democratically controlled. Majority in the state assembly in the House, a majority in the state Senate. And Stephen Sweeney was the Senate president in New Jersey. Very powerful, dude. A moderate, a centrist, a corporate Democrat. Held that job for 12 years and held it like with an iron fist. With an iron freaking fist. Okay, no one was going to, intimidate him. No one was going to get their progressive namby-pamby policies through. Didn't care if Murphy was a progressive governor. He was the ballast for the corporate Democrats. He was the anchor. Problem is, got to run every 2 years, no matter how empowered you feel you are. If you're, or you got to run every few years, right, in the Senate. And he actually had to run. And he's from Southwest New Jersey, which has gone a little Q. It's gone a little Staten Island-y. You know what I'm saying to you? It's gone a little nuts. So Stephen Sweeney lost his election, which would be bad enough for Stephen Sweeney. Thank God the jobs numbers are good, because now he's going to need one. But he lost to a New Jersey truck driver who lives next door to his mother, swear to God, who literally spent a grand total of $2,000 on his entire campaign, which consisted of a cell phone video that he took, an 80-second video that he took on his own damn cell phone, and he knocked on a few doors. And he beat him. He literally beat him. Now, I'm not happy about this in this weird way, because this truck driver is one of those Southwest Pennsylvania. I'm quoting him with Pennsylvania already. But he's one of these, Southwestern New Jersey Republican dudes. But I am celebrating the fact that he beat an entrenched moderate who felt invincible, like no one could tell him what the people of New Jersey want. Teachers tried. I will tell you that 4 years ago, the state teachers union spent $5 million to unseat this guy. And he won 4 years ago by 18 points. And this year, Edward Durr, that's his name, Edward Durr, a truck driver for a furniture delivery service, Raymore and Flanagan is who he works for. He had never, ever held office in his life. And his campaign video was shot on his smartphone. He knocked on a few doors, and he got a lot of Democrats to vote for him because they were just sick of COVID and the school lockdowns, okay? So COVID was a big thing for people in New Jersey, and they had just had it. But see, the Republican people in that part of New Jersey hated Donald Trump. They really hated him. They think he's, they know what he did in Atlantic City. They're not stupid, okay? They know he's a mob guy. They know he's, a cheat. They know he's a fraud. They know he's evil. They know he's twisted. They know he's, mentally unfit and unstable, and that he never pays his bills. He cheated all the workmen that ever worked for him. He even cheated a guy who supplied all the pianos for the Atlantic City casinos. A guy supplied pianos to Donald Trump, never got paid. Woodworkers and, drywallers, painters, window installers, all these people, HVAC guys, all got stiffed by Donald Trump. And this is what the people of New Jersey remember about Donald Trump. So they despised him and they would not vote for him. But as soon as there was another guy who seemed like, Mr. Durr was, lives next door to his mother in South Jersey, said that, he's sick of entrenched politicians, played on the parents feeling, discombobulated and out of control. And he freaking won. And he is a clear-eyed Republican guy in this way. He said to the press who went to talk to him this morning, he said, it didn't happen because of me. I'm nobody. I'm absolutely nobody. I'm just a simple guy. It's the people. They are repudiating the policies that have been forced down their throats, and he said that while he was walking his 3 pit bulls. Okay? And his entire campaign video included him stepping from his truck cab, and then it ends with him riding away on a motorcycle. Wake up, Democrats. Wake up. Yeah, I'm very serious about this. And he freaking unseated an entrenched politician who is the president of the New Jersey Senate, beat him by about 2,000 votes, literally spent $2,200 on his efforts. Got out and knocked on doors. I mean, you'd be an idiot to ignore this. You really would be. People don't like moderates, number one. Centrists. Only thing that's in the middle of the road are dead animals, you understand. But now the numbers are starting to get good. The numbers are starting to percolate again. We're almost, let's say, back to normal. We're almost back to normal. Time to smarten up, Democrats. Smarten up.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The picture here is very strong for hiring in October, and it's nice to see that summer lull was not as bad as we thought. In normal pre-COVID times, this kind of a jobs report would have been historic. 531,000 net new jobs added back into the economy in October across the spectrum, and wages up 4.9%. That means people are going back to work and they're getting bigger paychecks. When you look at the trend of the year, you can see that summer stall, really, and then roaring back here in October. These are numbers that economists tell me they expect will continue to pick up as we move into the later parts of the year, as the Delta variant is behind us and more people are vaccinated and people feel more comfortable going back to work and getting out there. Looking at the unemployment rate, 4.6%. This is a very good number. At some point here, we'll start to see the participation rate get a little bit better as people come off the sidelines trying to get into the labor market. But this is a very good number, and that is basically right back to where we were in March 2020. Before the pandemic, we had a 3.5% unemployment rate. Guys, let me give you the big picture on the economy. This is the jobs part of this picture. You have a stock market at record highs right now. You have home equity at record highs right now for so many people. Wages are gaining, and we are on track for the best year for economic growth in a generation. So take the whole big picture here. We talk about the supply chain. We talk about gas prices. The big picture here is that the American economy writ large is back.
Oh! We're back, everybody. We're back. We'll see. We'll see is what we'll do. But, the more people get vaccinated, you still have only 58% of America is vaccinated. But that doesn't take into, it does take into account in that number the fact that children 5 to 11 have not been eligible, and they will be, I believe, now, right? Now they can get vaccinated. So that's about 25%. So if you add that to the 58%, we're almost completely, vaccinated. So there you go. There you have it. Things should start looking up for us, for the economy, for job seekers. Wages are up throughout this. So, it's good news, and I need good news. You need good news. We all need good news. I'm exhausted. These last, since the summer surge of Delta. Now, if you're into Squid Games, Florida played well. Florida played well because we had a governor who sacrificed about 60,000 lives in Florida. 60,000. We were third for death in the United States, Florida is. And even here in Florida, COVID is waning. I think we have a 3% positivity number now. So, we're getting there too. But, it was survival of the fittest here. It was Squid Games here. It really was that. I mean, only the strong survived and the rest sacrificial at the altar of commerce, at the altar of, hey, don't anger, parents. It's wicked, it's wild, but I hope everybody remembers who literally cared about life. Life. Pro-life did not care about life. The GOP did not care about life. They didn't care about the living. They did. Oh, speaking of the living, Colin Powell's dead. And he had his funeral today. Can I just say, of all the religious services I've ever seen, I like that easy breezy Episcopalian. I have to say, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. It was a beautiful ceremony, really. I could almost imagine Colin Powell going to the pearly gates, seeing the million dead Iraqis and, being forgiven. I could almost see God doing that for him. It was very heartening, let's say. All right, Richard in L.A.
Hi, Randy. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Assume you've heard about what Greta Thunberg recently said about COP26, right?
No.
So she said it turned a complete failure into a PR campaign for politicians who really don't give a damn, to be honest. Just trying to say, oh, we're doing so much, but be honest, what has changed since Kyoto, since Paris? What's different about Glasgow?
So, we had a Paris Accord, and then we had a new president who pulled us out of it. So we don't even know what the result would have been if we had stayed in the Paris Accord, because we didn't. Donald Trump said it was the worst agreement ever. Same thing with the Iran nuclear deal. Just pulled us out of every alliance we had in this world. So we lost 4 years there. Now, if Build Back Better gets passed, and it won't today and next week, guess what, everybody? Congress is in recess. So, but if we did Build Back Better, remember that there is a lot of money in there for mitigation of climate. There's a lot of money in there to move people to green energy. There are tax incentives for utilities who show that they're using green, renewable energy to create electricity. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in that Build Back Better. So who knows? Who knows? If we don't pass anything, nothing changes. If we do pass something, maybe everything changes. We don't know.
And then there was the whole Biden being there for just one day when it was a, 3-4 day event? What does that say about our commitment? If Biden's only willing to stay for one day and what you talk about was methane.
So I don't think it's, first you criticize it for being all PR, and now you say he didn't do good PR. And I'm explaining to you that there is policy that the Republicans are definitely, not one will vote for. And we have 5 House moderates, 5 centrists, who said today they need to see the CBO report before they could vote to invest in clean energy in this here country. Okay? So just so you know who's holding up progress, it ain't the progressives. It's not.
Exactly.
And so it has nothing to do with, Joe Biden. It has to do with moderate Democrats upon who we have to rely to pass this piece of legislation that could mitigate climate change in a very meaningful way. But these moderates, these corporates, I don't care if they're corporate Republicans, corporate Democrats, they're all cut from the same cloth. And if they choose to see the donations over protecting this planet from self-destruction, then that's what we're going to get. If they choose to get on board and realize that they have children and grandchildren, then that's what we'll get. But it has nothing to do with Biden, because Biden will sign the Build Back Better plan, which has an enormous amount of money to mitigate climate change in it. So to trash him for not doing the kind of PR that Greta Thunberg is criticizing him for is bizarre to me. I don't even get what the argument that you're making is. Is it just PR? And if it is just PR, then why aren't you glad that he only gave it a day of his time, if that's what you saw? I mean, I don't know. Policy matters is what I'm telling you. And the policy is there. It is Biden policy to invest in renewables. It is Biden policy to transition utilities from coal and dirty energy to wind and hydro and, tons of new ideas, new non-polluting ideas to power electricity. He wants tax credits. There are tons of tax credits in that bill for people who buy electric cars. There is a ton of climate mitigation in Biden's policy. So before you come here spouting some hatred or some disappointment or some disdain, why don't you have a look at who's holding up the progress? It's not progressives.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
After a long and laborious selection process, a nearly all-white jury has been chosen to decide the fate of the 3 white men accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery, a black man. Greg McMichael and his adult son, Travis McMichael, armed themselves and hunted Arbery down in their pickup truck after they spotted the 25-year-olds jogging in their neighborhood in coastal Georgia. A neighbor, William Bryan, joined the chase in his own truck and took a cell phone video of Travis McMichael shooting Arbery 3 times with a shotgun. On Wednesday, a judge ruled that he'd seat the only 1 black juror and 11 white jurors, despite prosecutors' objections that several black potential jurors were cut because of their race.
Oh, God.
Superior Court Judge Timothy Walmsley even acknowledged this.
This court has found that there appears to be intentional discrimination in the panel,
but said Georgia
Oh, my
law
God.
limited his authority to intervene. Arbery's mother called the results, quote, devastating. At the start of the jury selection process, she admitted she had concerns,
being that the jurors will be picked from this community,
but was trying to remain hopeful.
that we'll get the right people in the right place to make the right decision.
I mean, this is crazy. And why are they calling it the Ahmaud Arbery trial? Ahmaud Arbery is dead. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered on videotape. It's a snuff film, okay? Why are they calling it Ahmaud Arbery's trial? This is a trial of Travis McMichael, his father, and Roddy. These 3 white guys in Satilla Shores, Georgia, where they shot a black man, recorded it on their cell phones, and now they're finding out, even in Georgia, that's a crime. I mean, this is so sad. This is so sick. And everybody's trying to explain away how we ended up with an almost all-white jury, in 2021. How is this happening? Here's Dan Abrams trying to explain it.
Anyone who says that this is not a case about race, I think, is living in a fantasy world. As a legal matter, when you're talking about the jury here, issue number 1 is the defense is allowed to strike prospective jurors, at least a number of them, for almost any reason that they want, except race.
Yes.
And so what happened is they went forward and explained various reasons why they dismissed all these people, which were not racially based. The judge basically saying, I don't really believe that, but maybe it doesn't cross that legal line. Number 2 is that the jury doesn't, as a legal matter, need to reflect the exact percentage of jurors who are of that particular race in a community. And the third thing is, and I think this is something that's not being discussed enough, is there were a good number of black prospective jurors who were honest in the jury selection process and said, you know what, I've seen that video. I can't be fair. I can't honestly tell you that I can be objective here. And that immediately eliminated a number of prospective jurors as well.
So the white people were honest. The white people said, oh, I didn't see that video, and I can be... He's saying that we ended up with an almost all-white jury because the black jurors were honest and said that they had seen this video and they couldn't be impartial. But the white jurors, what? They said they didn't see this video and they could be impartial. That is a lie. That is an absolute rank lie. The whole world saw this video. You saw this video. You're not even listening to me in Georgia, okay? We have nary a listener in Georgia, maybe 3. I'm just guessing. I just don't feel the love from the Georgia. But honestly, are you telling me that the white jurors told the truth? That they said, oh, I could be impartial. I didn't see the video. No, that is the lamest excuse I've ever heard for using. Look, here's the lay of the land. They're in Brunswick, Georgia. The population there is 25% African American, 25% black. And there's one black juror. There's 12 jurors and 4 alternates. There's one black juror. And the judge even said, well, I think they're being a little discriminatory here. Well, that is his authority to say this jury selection was tainted. He can, I don't have the authority. Of course he has the authority. This is crazy. This is wrong. This is unbelievable. And we're supposed to believe that the reason why the black jurors was struck is because they told the truth that they saw the video, and the white jurors didn't lie. Because what? They said they didn't see the video? I don't know. I wasn't in the courtroom, but this is just a bizarre place to land on this particular thing. Now, you remember what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, right? Ahmaud Arbery was 25 years old. He was a baby. He was jogging. That's what he was doing. And there was a house under construction. And lots of people went into that house to look around. Lots of people. One guy, and we know this because there was surveillance video in that house under construction. And so we know all kinds of people went in there to look around to see what was going on, to see, how's the building going and what are they putting in there and what kind of refrigerator did they buy and what kind of, drywall they're using, whatever. And Ahmaud was one of those that went in there. He didn't touch anything. He didn't damage anything. He didn't steal anything, nothing. And there was a guy that was in there 4 different times, also caught on videotape, right? Nobody called the cops on that guy. But anyway, people would, go in there, and he was on his morning jog or his afternoon jog. This happened in the afternoon at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This isn't the middle of the night. This is in broad daylight. This was in February. He was doing his jog, right? And so he went in there, he looked, and then he went back on his jog. Well, these 3 guys who decided that they were going to be vigilantes, they decided that they were going to, chase him, and they went hunting him. They literally got in their car. And by the way, Ahmaud Arbery lived 2 miles away. So he was jogging in his own neighborhood. He was jogging in his own area, okay, 2 miles from his house. So he stops on the front lawn at 220 Satilla, a house that was being built across the street. And he looks around and he wanders inside the open construction site. Security footage captures him looking around. Nothing's disturbed, nothing's damaged, nothing, right? Outside, a neighbor sees that, that Ahmaud goes into the house, and he calls 911. And several others also had stopped in that house that day, several other people. But this neighbor only calls 911 on Ahmaud. There were several people trespassing, as they say, caught on camera that day. Okay? And so Travis and his father, Gregory, grab their guns, jump into a white truck, and leave their house and pursue Ahmaud Arbery. Now, we don't know what happened in the 3 minutes that they're in their truck pursuing him, but we know from testimony that Greg McMichael gave police at the scene and other witnesses that Roddy Bryan, this Roddy dude, actually sees the pursuit, gets in his car, and also joins it. He follows them. He tries to cut Ahmaud Arbery off, and Arbery doubles back and passes them, and then Roddy tries to block him with his car. Arbery runs past him, and Greg McMichael jumps from the cab of the bed of the truck, armed with a handgun. And Ahmaud Arbery's like running, trying to get away from the gun, trying to get away. And he ends up dead.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Okay, so we all saw Ahmaud Arbery be murdered on television because they were filming it while they were hunting him like a big game. Okay, and so what you have is the father and the son, okay, Gregory and Travis McMichael, and their friend Roddy, who's filming the whole thing. Okay, they got two cars chasing this 25-year-old jogger who did nothing wrong at all, and chasing him with more firepower than, the U.S. military. Really, it's amazing. You got a .357 Magnum in this guy's hand. The other guy's got a shotgun. They got two cars. And they're literally running this guy down, literally hunting him. And so now you got this Travis McMichael dude standing by the driver's side of his truck, armed with a shotgun, okay? And Gregory's in the bed of the truck, and they call 911, okay? And Ahmaud doesn't know where to run. Arbery is like, oh my God, what the hell? Where do I go? What do I do? He veers right, he veers left, and then he darts around the right side of the vehicle and then comes around the front of the truck. And that is when you see him in his white T-shirt through the windshield where Travis McMichael is leaning toward him and shoots. Literally murders him. Shoots him. He's hit in the chest. Now we know, because there's been an autopsy, that it hit his right lung, his ribs, his sternum. Okay? And they're wrestling. The two guys with the gun are wrestling each other. I'm sorry. Arbery is, Travis goes over to Arbery, and he's like half dead, but he's still fighting for his life, and he's wrestling. He's wrestling to get the gun away. And so Gregory McMichael shouts to his idiot son, Travis, Travis, Travis. And then Arbery punches Travis. And they shoot him again. That's when you see the smoke from the shotgun. And Ahmaud Arbery is bleeding out. He's literally bleeding out, and he still manages to get off one last punch. He punches him one more time. And Travis fires another shot, which hits Ahmaud Arbery in his upper chest. And Travis walks away holding his gun. And Gregory gets off the truck holding his .357 Magnum. And then Gregory rolls Ahmaud Arbery over to see if he has a gun, and he does not. Now the police officers arrive, because during this whole thing, they called 911 to report, a jogger, a black jogger. And the police officer, Officer Minshew, reports 2 subjects on Holmes Road, shots fired, male on the ground bleeding out. The police takes Gregory McMichael's testimony and then lets them all go. And no arrests were made until after this video was released. And now we're talking about an almost all-white jury that's going to hear this case of this is their defense. We were citizens making an arrest. It was a citizen's arrest. You don't have any right to make a citizen's arrest. Okay, this wasn't self-defense. In fact, if anybody was self-defending, it was Ahmaud Arbery, who's trying to punch his way out of being killed as he's being killed. But they're going to argue citizen's arrest, and in front of a almost all-white jury. I mean, this is unbelievable. During jury selection, they had 8 potential black jurors, 8, and they removed each and every one of them. The defense lawyers probably had previous experience as bank loan officers in Georgia. Do you know what I mean? Just redlined all these people. And the excuse was, well, they told the truth. They told the truth. They said that they couldn't be objective because they saw the video, which means that your white jurors lied, because we all saw the video. I saw the video. This whole country saw the video. And I promise you, everyone in Satilla Shores saw that video. And you know what's really creepy about that little area? Everyone knows everybody. And that's why there were no arrests. That's why there was a big cover-up. That's why they covered up for, Greg and Travis and Roddy. You even had prosecutors having to resign for the cover-up. I cannot even believe this. Now, let's compare and contrast that particular case there that we just walked you through with the case of the insurrectionist, the case of the blonde, white, rich insurrectionist. Okay. Here we have a videotape of Jenna. This is the white lady from Denton, Texas, who chartered a private plane, loaded it up with her friends, and decided that she was going to the insurrection at the Capitol, and that she was going to Facebook her experience, and she was going to tweet her experience. And one of the things that she wrote on her Facebook page, on her Facebook Live videos, where she can be seen entering the Capitol through the rotunda and saying in her texts, life or death, it doesn't matter, here we go. She also then tweets, we just stormed the Capitol. It was one of the best days of my life. And she finally comes before a court. She finally is going to face the bar of justice. But let's add some insult to the injury that she actually committed. She had tweeted, definitely not going to jail. This was in March. Definitely not going to jail. Sorry, I have blonde hair, white skin, and a great job, a great future. I'm not going to jail. Sorry to rain on your hater parade. I did nothing wrong. Yesterday, she also then opened up a GoFundMe, a PayPal GoFundMe, and PayPal threw her off because they threw her off because she was trying to get donations for her legal fees and business losses. She's a real estate lady. I'm sure you've heard of her. Her name's Jennifer Ryan. Anyway, she yesterday got sentenced. And for being an insurrectionist and for live Facebooking this and for saying, here we go, we just stormed the Capitol. This is one of the greatest, best days of my life. When she was in front of the court, when she was before the judge, Judge Christopher Cooper, yesterday, she said, quote, this is not anything that remotely resembles who I am. And expressed contrition. The judge gave her a measly, 60 days in prison. 60 days. She does have to go to jail. 60 days, 2 months in prison. And after she told the judge, well, this is not anything that remotely resembles who I am, even though who she is a blonde, white, rich woman, according to her, that is not going to jail because she's a blonde, rich, white woman. You know, you want to talk about privilege or entitlement? You can't make this up. So then yesterday, outside of the courthouse, she gave this statement.
I walked into the Capitol for 2 minutes, and I'm remorseful of that. I'm disappointed that I am being used as an example in my incarceration because other people that walked in for 2 minutes may not have the same thing, but because I'm a public person and I have a Twitter account, I'm being punished for that. And because the media was doing what y'all are doing right now, I'm being punished for this. And it's actually causing my incarceration. And I think that that is a travesty. I think that everybody should be able to tweet without being persecuted and treated like crap. So it's, watch what you tweet, because if you tweet, you can go to jail. Basically.
Do you regret tweeting that they weren't going to jail?
Well, I didn't think I was at the time, and that's because they had some discussions about it. And yes, I regret ever tweeting, but, it's a free country.
She's blaming the Twitter for showing up on a private plane for the insurrection, which she said, quote, I feel like I was basically following my president. This is January in a CBS Dallas Fort Worth interview. She said, I was following what we were called to do. He asked us to fly there. He asked us to be there. That was in January. And then in March, she said, definitely not going to jail. Sorry, I have blonde hair, white skin, and a great job, a great future, and I'm not going to jail. And now she's blaming Twitter for her going to jail. Not what she did, not that she pre-planned to be an insurrectionist, not that she did show up there, not that she did enter the Capitol, not that she thought that she was doing what Donald Trump asked her to do, which was to stop the certification of the election by doing violence at the Capitol. Hang Mike Pence, Where's Nancy? Oh, Nancy. But she's white and has blonde hair, so she's not going to jail. Can you see how when you juxtapose the Arbery case with the Jenna Ryan case, it doesn't look good for anybody in this country who cares about equal justice under law. It sort of makes you hate white people, and I'm a white person. Now, I have no problem with self-loathing, but some white people do.
Mary had a little man.
The false. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
New questions swirling over NFL star Aaron Rodgers about whether he broke the league's COVID rules. The quarterback sidelined this week after multiple reports that he tested positive for COVID-19. He was asked directly whether he had gotten the vaccine before the season began.
Are you vaccinated, and what's your stance on vaccinations?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
What?
You know, there's a lot of conversation around it, around the league, and a lot of guys who have made statements and I've made statements, owners who've made statements. There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys.
Those guys?
But ESPN reports the NFL has been treating Rodgers as unvaccinated since the beginning of the season. Rodgers has not returned NBC's request for comment.
By the NFL saying he is out for this game, that was the code word for the fact that he has not been vaccinated.
Right.
The Green Bay Packers announced the quarterback cannot play this Sunday because of NFL COVID protocol guidelines, which means he'll sit out for 10 days.
I went, wait, they're calling him out already? And that's when I started to go, wait, does that mean he's not vaccinated?
Yes.
The NFL does not require players or coaches to be vaccinated, but if a player does not get a shot, NFL protocol says those players must wear masks inside team facilities, get tested daily, and wait 10 days before returning to play after a positive test.
The final score and also.
But if Rodgers is unvaccinated, he seems in violation of rules. He's been without a mask at press conferences and also on the sidelines at games.
If he is found to have violated these policies, will he face any consequences from either the team or the NFL?
He will face some financial consequences, but they're not severe. He can be fined $14,000, and that players can be fined up to $50,000 for these transgressions.
The NFL released a statement late Wednesday saying the primary responsibility for enforcement of the COVID protocols within club facilities rests with each club. The league is aware of the current situation in Green Bay and will be reviewing with the Packers.
Okay, so the NFL punted, to Green Bay. Even though, it's the most socialist system on the planet. You understand the NFL is socialism, right? All the clubs share in all the money equally, no matter who wins, who loses. But in this scenario, the league is now punting to the club as if it's a separate entity from the league. Oh, we laugh. But they're doing that because they knew, and Aaron Rodgers knows, and he always knew that he was unvaccinated, even though he was asked point blank whether or not he was vaccinated. And his answer was, I'm immunized. And there was no follow-up whatsoever. So here's the little tiny lie right here. Here it is.
Are you vaccinated, and what's your stance on vaccinations?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
Yeah, I've been immunized. No, you haven't. And in fact, he presented to Green Bay, he presented to his coach, he presented to the league the fact that he had chosen some homeopathic remedy. I don't know what it is to this minute, but he presented a homeopathic protocol to his team, to his league, and they said, no, that doesn't count. I'm sorry. You signed a contract to be a team member, and the team requires either a Johnson & Johnson one-and-done vaccine, 2 Modernas, or 2 Pfizers. then you will be immunized. If you choose not to be immunized and this homeopathic remedy of yours is not acceptable as being immunized to us, then you must wear a mask. You must, and if you test positive, you're out for 10 days. You're out. You can't play. Now, if he was immunized, just so you know, and he tested positive, they wouldn't take him off the roster. They would wait to see if he was asymptomatic in a couple of days and put him back on if he was asymptomatic. But here's the thing. When someone asks you in the middle of a global pandemic if you are vaccinated, your answer should be yes or no. I'll tell you something, like the Buffalo Bills, the wide receiver, Cole Beasley, they asked Cole Beasley if he was vaccinated, and his answer was, "You damn right I'm not vaxxed." The Brooklyn Nets, the whole deal with Kyrie, right? Same thing. He said no. And so he hasn't played, and it's really time for him to resign because, again, you sign a contract to be a team member. That's what they're hiring you to be. They're not hiring you to be your own corporation. They're not hiring you to be an entrepreneur. They're not hiring you to set up a business. They're not hiring you. They're not investing in you. They are contracting with you to be a member of a National Football League team, a team member. And listen, anybody who's ever worked in corporate America, like the first thing that they say to you when you try to skirt rules or go around rules or shortcut through rules or, do scant paperwork because you already know, what you're doing, or you don't go through HR to get your approval for your vacation in the proper manner. They say to you point blank, first thing out of their mouths, you're not a team player. Now, that is corporate America. But here you are actually being contracted to be a team player, to be a team member. And he doesn't want to do it.
And even take that point a step further, Randy, is Ryan Tannehill, well known to the South Florida crowd, Pro Bowl quarterback, not to the stature of Aaron Rodgers, but Ryan Tannehill, he said, look, I'm going to get the vaccination. I'm against it. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's fair. I don't know the science. He listed a bunch of reasons, and then he finished by saying, I'm going to get vaccinated because of my team and because of NFL protocols, and I'm a team member, just like you just described.
Well, we've had this story for 3 days. It's been in the homework for 3 days. It's been in the homework since Wednesday, okay? And I let it be. I let it lie, because that's my motto, let it lie. Yeah, right. That's my motto. No. But I didn't say anything, and I didn't, go on, and I didn't, because honestly, I wanted to see if he would apologize. I wanted to give him some, listen, it's good that, the economic numbers are up because his entire PR team is going to need a job. So that's that. But, I waited. I actually waited to see if he was sorry, to see if he admitted that he had made a mistake. Because remember when this whole thing happened with Gruden? Okay, I started watching these sports shows, and Aaron Rodgers was like their go-to guy to talk about Gruden and how, they literally cover up this, culture of misogyny and this hideous culture of, intimidating women and the whole 9 yards, right? And so they went to Aaron Rodgers. They did this long interview with him, and I actually watched it. And I came in that day. This was a couple months ago, and I came in that day, and I said to Brett, what is the deal with Aaron Rodgers? Because listen, I like football. I'm not a maven. I can't give you stats on every player. I used to be able to because I worked for a radio station here in Miami, WIOD, which was the Dolphins' flagship station, right? And I work with a bunch of degenerate sports jocks, and Mad Dog Mandich and Jeff DeForest and degenerate Hank Goldberg, who I replaced because he walked into the program director's office one day and told him to go F himself. And he said, no, go you F yourself. And he called me, and the rest is my broadcast history. My career started because degenerate gambler Hank Goldberg told Boy Gary to go F himself. But that said, that's where I worked. And so I used to have field tickets, and I could sit on the field and watch the Dolphins, okay? And I became completely ate up with football. I'm not like that anymore. But this guy...
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
You know, there's a lot of conversation around it, around the league, and a lot of guys who have made statements and not made statements, owners who made statements. You know, there's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys. There's guys who have been vaccinated that have contracted COVID. So it's an interesting issue that I think we're going to see played out the entire season.
Those guys, as if he's not one of those unvaccinated guys, which is like such a freaking lie. And I got to tell you, I just, if this guy wasn't like, you know, an MVP, how many times has he been MVP?
Yeah, he's Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP one time, NFL MVP, I believe in 04, might have been
like a bunch
11
of times,
and 20,
right?
3 times NFL MVP, including last season's MVP.
So if he was just some mediocre player, you know, if he was just, you know, some guy, would the league actually allow this to happen? I mean, what he has done here is not only has he lied to his fans, which is just grotesque, okay, but he lied to his teammates. He lied to his employer, although the fact that they took him off the roster. Oh, good news, everybody. The tickets for this weekend's game in Kansas City, it's like $70 now or something. It's less. I mean, they're like discounting it.
I love that you bring up the teammates aspect, though, because there are a lot of teammates of his and around the whole NFL that were very much against this mandate, against this policy, and got it because they're not 3-time MVP champ or NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers. They didn't feel they had the leeway to gamble their career on this, so they went and they got it. And here he is, Mr. Zen, being completely duplicitous, being manipulative, Mr. Zen Master.
So who calls him Mr. Zen? So this was the thing, okay? So when this Gruden story came, right, I was talking to Brett about it because Brett loves sports. He loves football especially.
And the Bears, full disclosure,
yes,
I am a Bears fan.
He is a Bears fan. He's a total Bears fan. When the Bears lose, I know Monday's going to be hell. I know I'm coming into a very depressed, low-level Brett. Okay, and it's my job to, like, you know, zhuzh him, right? So, and I can do that. And it's not a big thing. It's okay. But I know what I'm coming, you know, like what his mood will be on Monday. I know that when the Bears lose. Okay. But that said, when this Gruden story started, okay, when this whole, and the fact that they call him the Washington team, that they haven't even come up with a freaking name. And, you know, the whole Washington team story and the Gruden story, it just, and of course, everybody, like I said, I was watching these sports shows. They went to Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk to Aaron Rodgers. And he had like this whole Zen thing going on, right? He had this sort of, hey, I braid my armpits like everyone else at Berkeley, because that's where he went. He went to Cal Berkeley. And, you know, he just had this whole sort of live and let live vibe. And like he was above all the controversy and he understood it from all points of view, like almost like he astral projects into the room and he could tell what everybody is doing. And this one has poor motives and this one, but they're just doing the best they can. They're going along together. And I said, what is with this guy? What is with this guy? And he said, which guy? And I showed him I go, oh, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a front-running phony. Aaron Rodgers is there. I hate Aaron Rodgers. I go, but he's so zen. He's so, you know, like, you know, cool. And he goes, it's an act. Everybody that's ever played with him hates him. They hate him in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. And this, I was like, really? And it was shocking to me because I never paid attention to him. And I understand that he's MVP 3 times and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I'm not ate up with football the way I used to be. I used to be like all about it. I still like it. I still like it a lot. I still watch it. I still get, you know, wrapped up in it. But, you know, I've been a Miami Doll fan all these years for the reason I told you. I worked for the flagship station in Miami, and they suck. So it's hard it's hard for me to still be in love the way it was. Even back then, it was good. We had Dan Marino, we had the Marx Brothers. You know, those were the days. Those were the days. And I had field tickets. How could you not be ate up with football when you have all that going for you? You know what I mean? But not like now. So I had to ask him, who is this dude? Who is this dude? Well, today he was on that same sports show that I was watching with the Gruden stuff. Same exact show. So the show is like...
I think it's Pat McAfee.
Yes.
Ex-Colt punter, actually really dynamic media personality. Ex-Colt punter, Pat McAfee.
I mean, he's like 12 years old. He's so cute, though. So, you know, I watched his show, and I'm like, you know, they look so cute. They're so young. I mean, was I ever like that adorable? I don't know. But, okay, so let me see if it's in here. I don't think so. I played it for you, didn't I? So,
yeah, you did. You did.
So I don't know if it was added in here. I don't see it.
Well, I mean, if we were to be able to watch it, we'd all find out just what a victim he is, really. In his opinion.
Sean, did you put it in there?
Yeah, he said it's labeled Pat McAfee.
No, what number? Because it's really pathetic. Oh, here it is. It's labeled Aaron Rodgers COVID excuses. It's not labeled Pat, Pat
there
McAfee.
You go.
Okay.
I realize I'm in the crosshairs of the woke mob right now. So
the
before my final nail gets put in my cancel culture casket, I think I'd like to set the record straight on so many of the blatant lies that are out there about myself right now. And I appreciate the opportunity to tell my side of the story on here. First of all, I didn't lie in the initial press conference.
You did.
During that time, it was a very, witch hunt that was going on.
What?
The next great chapter in my life, I believe, is being a father. And it's something that I care about a lot. And to my knowledge, there's been zero long-term studies around sterility or fertility issues around the vaccines. So that was definitely something that I was worried about. I consulted with a now good friend of mine, Joe Rogan.
Oh, my God.
After he got
there
COVID.
It is.
And I've been doing a lot of the stuff that he recommended in his podcasts and, on the phone to me. And I'm going to have the best immunity possible now. The great MLK said that you have a moral obligation to object to unjust rules and rules that make no sense. In my opinion, it makes no sense for me. I test every single day.
You signed a contract to be a team member. A contract. This has nothing to do with segregation or segregated bus seats or Rosa Parks. This is a contract you signed to be a team member. And the reason why the rules are in place is not only to protect you, but to protect your team members and their families. And since when? So now we know who Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend is. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's worried about sterility? Make a deposit in the sperm bank and then get the shot. What the F, man?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Aaron Rodgers is a liar. Period.
Ooh.
He lied through his teeth with a smirk on his face regarding a matter that is very, very serious. Okay, you lied about that, so what else did you lie about? You lied about Gutekunst? You lied about what was going on with the Green Bay Packers? What else you been lying about? Because you did it with such ease, such fluidity. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just very, very impressive. And it was slick as hell. Yeah, I remember you now. You take the Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, all right? According to the NFL, that means you're not considered vaccinated.
Right.
You knew this, but never said anything. The Packers are culpable, too.
Yes.
Because they knew it.
Yes, they did.
And you were still addressing the media without wearing a mask. You weren't following NFL protocols. I heard somebody on the radio, I think, talking about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is not vaccinated. We all know this. He's got a mask when he's on the sidelines. He's got a mask when he goes on the field and he's greeting other players. He's got a mask when he's addressing the media, etc. So Carson Wentz was following protocol.
Mm-hmm.
As a football player, understanding NFL guidelines, but recognizing the fact that he didn't want to get vaccinated. So as a result, this is what he did. Aaron Rodgers wanted the best of both worlds. He didn't want to follow the protocol.
Right.
But at the same time, he didn't tell everybody that he was required to follow the protocol because he gave the impression that he was vaccinated.
Sure did.
I don't like sitting here and saying that. I love me some Aaron Rodgers. Everybody knows that. I religiously and continuously throughout the years, Molly, you can attest to this, has come to this man's defense time and time and time again. But you lied, and you were slick with it.
Yeah, so that's Stephen A. Smith. I mean, he is an Aaron Rodgers defender. He has been. This is like in your face, and you know, it's the culture, right? We want to have a culture war in this here country, right? Everybody's like fighting the culture war. Oh, let's consult Aaron Rodgers on CRT. There you go. He'll solve it, right? Oh, let's talk to Aaron. What's your position on the 1619 project? Yeah, let's go to him for, truth and clarity on who has, entitlement or who is treated in a preferential manner. Let's talk to Aaron Rodgers about that.
I'm willing to ask him if he thinks the earth is round or flat at this point. I'm not sure where he's falling on this stuff.
Well, he's concerned about, his penis is what he said. This is why he said he wouldn't, he wanted to lie because although he denies lying, he's woke culture. It's woke culture. No, it's a pandemic, Aaron. It's a pandemic is what it is. And you signed a contract to be a team member, a large contract. And it doesn't matter if it was for $1, though. When you put your name on a contract that says that you will agree to all the team's rules and regulations, you don't get to invoke Martin Luther King about you're not supposed to follow unjust rules. No, Martin Luther King was saying that you can't live under laws that don't apply to everyone. The NFL rules don't apply to anyone except you and a couple of hundred guys that belong to the NFL who sign contracts to be NFL players. This is so disgusting what he's doing. And I have to tell you, at first I really liked him. I mean, like I said, I was watching that McAfee show and I just thought, oh, he's so zen. He's got such a cool, chill vibe. No, it's an act. It's slick. It's too cute by half. It's getting over. It's covering up for being a cheat and a liar. But you see, look, when you have a guy who can wrap himself up in a fleece vest or wrap himself up in an Aaron Rodgers, Cal Berkeley Zen vibe, then you can have that guy be acceptable to suburban women, even though that guy puts your children in harm's way. That is really disgusting. And that's what they learned in the Republican Party. That's what they've learned. That's what Aaron Rodgers learned. That's what this Youngkin, Glenn Youngkin, you want to hear a little story also about him? These are all the stories that nobody else reports, like the Sweeney thing in New Jersey. Nobody reported that, whatever. Okay, so Glenn Youngkin's son is 17 years old. He tried to vote for his dad. He literally tried to vote for his dad. He showed up at the polling place and tried to get over and tried to vote. Now, no crime was committed because he was prevented from voting, but he did try to illegally, fraudulently vote. They think that if you wrap it all up in a nice fleece vest, or if you wrap it all up in a nice, Zen type vibe, or in a white, kind of a mealy mouth guy, sort of a low talker, then it will sell in Peoria. And that is the big warning. That is the big red flag. That is the big bright light that should set everyone's hair on fire. And he's playing that game. He is playing that but I'm just a humble guy who believes in live and let live, and I was just worried about my future as a father is very important to me. Well, then make a deposit into a sperm bank if you don't feel like there's been enough study on this fact that the vaccine has nothing to do with fertility issues. Nothing. Zero. Goose egg, donut, squat, nothing, nada.
I just want to add on to this Zen persona. You know, this is a guy who's estranged from both his parents. His brother has been vocal about what type of person he is. He's had a number of...
What has his brother said?
Just unsavory things. I don't have a whole lot of the
unsavory,
unfavorable depiction of his own brother, and he is estranged, doesn't talk to his mother and father. And, you know, Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings were his two favorite targets over his career. Both have come out vocally in one way or another, not too crazy, but, you know, he cost us this with his attitude, selfish, manipulative, things that have been said about him from people who were closest to him.
But he's so chill. You know what? This is like Paul Gosar's family, too. You understand that? Paul Gosar's family. I think it comes from like 9. There's like 9 of them, brothers and sisters. They all tried to get on television. They all made an ad. They made a commercial saying, there's something wrong with our brother. Our brother is a white supremacist. Our brother is a hater. Our brother is deranged. Our brother is a lunatic, fringy guy. Do not allow... This is the same damn thing. And if you look at Gosar, he looks harmless. He looks like a dim-witted white guy with, you know, like no personality at all. And these guys are so freaking, they're into subterfuge. Getting their way, using their entitled positions to do whatever the hell they want, no matter what they agree to. Whether they swore an oath to the Constitution or signed an NFL contract for multiple millions of dollars saying, I will be a team member. Well, he's not a team member now because he can't even play. He can't play. Same thing with the Kiri guy from the Brooklyn Nets, okay? Can't play. I don't know where these guys get their nerve. I don't know where they get the idea that they can agree, sign their names, take an oath, and then do the exact opposite and just say, it's the woke culture. This was a witch hunt. You got COVID, you schmuck. And you took your medical advice from Joe Rogan, who also got COVID.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
There's so many layers to this, and as was just said, the NFL has a lot to answer to, and they have one chance to get this right. What does getting this right mean? It means admitting that they made a horrible mistake. You know, this is not just some person on the street. This is a superstar football player who's looked up to and admired by many Americans, including many children in America. He lied to the public, and he, even worse than that, ascribed to some absolutely nonsense of a homeopathic treatment, meaning a non-traditional, non-proven treatment for a disease that's killed 750,000 Americans to date. It's inexcusable, and I don't see how he should be allowed to continue playing the NFL, but that is just my opinion. The fact is he needs to disavow what he did, and he needs to become a spokesperson to encourage Americans to do the most important thing they could possibly do to tamp down COVID, which is to get vaccinated. And by the way, Chris, this is not a matter of a personal decision. It's not like, you know, you can't decide, oh, I think I'm just going to get drunk and go for a drive in my car. You can't take risk to yourself that is translated to other people around you. Just absolutely unacceptable, Chris.
I mean, that's why we had drunk driving laws, because you get in a car, do what you want to yourself, but you're going to kill other people, and we don't know who might have been exposed.
I mean, besides that, he is a team member. He is a team member. His job is throw ball far. That is his job. I swear to God, I cannot believe this man is like making his own medicines and that they're taking advice from podcasters. I'm a podcaster. I'm not going to give you any medical advice that doesn't come straight from the CDC or the FDA. And then I'm just going to repeat what the CDC and the FDA actually voted for and why. I don't make this crap up the way they do. Oh, I'm going to put a salve on it. I'll put a little Vaseline and I'll put it up my rectum and then I'm protected from a virus. I'll drink, some iodine is what I'll do. And I'll have immunity. I mean, this is ridiculous. Your job is throw ball far, connect with receiver man, throw ball to him, watch him run. That's your job. Randall in Oklahoma City.
I don't understand how people can think not helping out young people so they can start families and have children, how that is an infrastructure. And I mean family medical leave.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about now? Just remind me.
Infrastructure. Infrastructure.
Now we're talking about infrastructure.
I'm behind.
I see. This is the thing with on demand. This is the problem.
I'm sorry. I think the guy ought to get a shot. 99% of the people that got a draft notice.
It isn't even that. It isn't even about the percentage. It's about the fact that he signed a contract to be a team player for multiple millions of dollars in the NFL. The NFL designed protocols so that they could play games. That is what they do. His only job is to throw ball far and to honor the letter of the contract that he signed. And he hasn't done it, and then he lied. And it seems like in NFL culture, and we're supposed to like it because he was all pro Colin Kaepernick kneeling. Now look at what happened to Colin Kaepernick. Look at what happened to him. He didn't even violate any rule. He knelt to draw attention to the Ahmaud Arbery's of the world. Now, I thought Aaron Rodgers, was somewhat decent in his humanity because he supported Kaepernick. But apparently, he's all into woke culture and it's a witch hunt and they're canceling me. And it's like, I did a homeopathic and I was worried about my sperm and MLK. What?
In that clip you played coming back, it was mentioned that if he would just do a 180 on this, say I was wrong.
Yes.
I was wrong.
Yes.
I talked about homeopathic.
That's why I gave it.
And it didn't work.
You know that I've been talking to you about this since Wednesday. To you, Brett, because you love football and I talk football, with you because I want to love what you love. But honestly, no, you know that I've had this story since Wednesday. And if you go check my homework, you'll see it's been in the homework since Wednesday, Thursday. Today is Friday. The only reason why I brought it up today is because he went on that sports show and said he was like Martin Luther King.
Yeah, you were waiting for him to be contrite. Instead, he doubled down. And I'm going to tell you that.
No, he compared himself to Martin Luther King. That's ridiculous. And the reason why I even know of him is because he was one of the few NFL players who supported Colin Kaepernick. And so I thought he understood civil rights. And then all of a sudden today, he invokes Martin Luther King Jr. As an excuse to lie to his fans and to violate the contract that he signed. I mean, for me, I mean, listen, he's a cheerleader for cryptocurrency. He's just a freak of nature, this dude, but selfish. And this whole soulful Zen dude thing he's got going on is a farce. It's a scam. And that's what made me react to it today. That's what made me put it on the air, because there's tons of crap in the homework that you're free to call about any day you want, because I put it in the homework. That means it's germane. It's up for debate that day. But I only do 2 hours. I used to do 4. I still prepare as if I'm doing 4 hours. So the homework is chock full of topics that I never get to because the show is truncated. It's only 2 hours. And this was in there. And, I let it be. I let it lie. I let it go. Because I thought he's going to now that he has COVID, he's going to have to say something. And he showed up with all this. He does not look well, I have to say. But, he got monoclonal antibodies. And, what? God help us. Let's hope he doesn't have long COVID. Let's hope it doesn't have an impact on his penis.
He showed a crack in this Zen armor 3 years ago when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, his backup for the future.
Right,
which
he's playing on Sunday.
That's correct. And it's funny because now you look back, the Green Bay has put themselves in a position to cut bait here with Aaron. They are in a position to do the right thing. You know, they could be facing, possible suspensions for him, money damages. You know, who knows what the league will do going forward.
Well, the money damages are so minimal. I mean, it's like $14,000, okay, a game. I think maximum that you could fine him is $50,000. The guy makes millions, so it's not the money that's going to get him. But you're right. You're right. If Green Bay is sick of his shenanigans, if they've had it with this guy, and Love does really, really well on Sunday,
now's the time. They can cut bait. He plays well.
You know who knows that? Love.
Yep.
I mean, really.
You know who else knows it is the guy that was mentioned earlier, Gutunsk. And people may have said, who's that? That is the GM of the Packers who made the decision to draft Love, who also was under fire this offseason because of Rodgers' ego, making a diva spectacle of himself all offseason. And now who is sitting in the driver's seat if they choose to go that route?
What do you bet me Matt LaFleur is in the CEO's office right freaking now? What do you bet me? And that they're talking about, let's just see how Love does this Sunday, and then we'll make a decision on Monday is what we'll do. Right? Now,
100%.
Mahomes, I love Mahomes. Mahomes says, oh, I'm really sorry he has COVID.
Well, they're doing those State Farm commercials together. He should get checked out.
Oh, man. So this is going to be a game for the record books. So now I'm interested, I will say. So in this weird way, I owe fake Zen dude a little bit of gratitude because now I'm interested in Sundays, KC. I'm interested in freaking Green Bay and the Chiefs. I actually care about this game. Now, if I would have known that the tickets were going to be discounted, I might have gotten on a plane and gone to KC. That might have been fun. And I need a break. Because I hate I've been hating numbers for months now. But now the numbers are good, so you don't have to hate numbers. So now, I could watch football. Kate in Colorado.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
Aaron Rodgers is engaged to Shailene Woodley.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, and I don't know if she has any influence on him because she's kind of quirky. She eats clay. And she says it benefits her health.
She eats clay?
Yes.
Clay?
And she says it, clay.
Clay. She eats clay.
Mm-hmm. And she says it benefits her health. And,
clay.
She's just kind of a strange woman.
Well, I don't know, but, she has to know that he's got the COVID. So, eat some clay, I guess, and go make out with him. Yeah.
And then the other thing is COVID can affect a man's ability to have an erection, from what I've read.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of freaky how the vaccine does none of those things, but COVID does some of those things. And they'd rather have the COVID than the vax. This is so freaky. What a weird environment. Anyway, enjoy the game. See you Monday.